And we're live. Hi, long-haired, skinny-eyed toe. Welcome. We are here today with Lady Khepera on, and her channel is in the description for those watching back. So make sure you show some love. Hit that sub.
Hello, everyone.
I'm just gonna give it a couple moments. We got one, I believe.
Long-haired, skinny-eyed toad never misses one of your lives.
I appreciate my peeps.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, I'm excited for this because I think only one other kind of interview I did with someone that does similar magic. I did one with Orly.
Right.
So I'm really excited to touch base with you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hey Rochelle, welcome. How
Hi,
are you?
Rochelle.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll go ahead with the first. Oh, trying to clear my desk off so I could reach my keyboard. So yeah, we'll jump in and we'll kind of pause in between for questions or to say hi to those who enter. So, will you tell us a bit about your channel and maybe plans for it?
Well, I think originally my idea was to stay focused mainly on Egyptian magic, solar-based and funerary-based, because I like the balance between and stick with the original text as far as I can. In any system of magic, I try to go back as far as I can to the indigenous people who first wrote the system or wrote about, for example, Lilith or Lilitu, going back as far as I can to ancient Sumeria and seeing what they said about it, not what somebody convoluted it into thousands of years later, but sticking with the original and working with that. And then from there, formatting my own. But I kind of didn't want to stick just to that. That's why it's specific in there that I do Sumerian things as well. And I am an initiated Kali Bhakta. And my practice with Kali has nothing to do with magic or arcane. It's more of a chanting, healing type of thing that I do with Divine Mother. And that's totally separate from my channel. It won't be on my channel. That's my devotion to Divine Mother Kali, and it's not to share. So that's between her and I. But as far as magic, I like ancient Sumeria. I like the Assyrians. I like the Egyptians, obviously. Um, getting into these CDs, which Aleister Crowley spoke about them being the original people who identified Shaitan, who we now call Satan. So that's another tradition, too, that I'm looking deeply into these CDs.
I love that. Wow. Absolutely, because I also completely get that on such a deep level, like
Right.
that sacredness of like just keeping some things you work with like private and I do agree with like the origins and all that. That is awesome. Are you
Right.
on any other platforms that you maybe offer services on or anything?
No, I just offer that all through my YouTube channel. The link is in my description, but I don't want to participate in any other social media. I just really don't want to get drawn into the cycle babble of all of that. TikTok witches and all of that, I can't get involved in that, girl. So I'm just straight here on YouTube, and it's not that I'm laughing at anybody. We all have our start. But some of the things I've seen on there, other YouTube people have sent me that they're doing, it's like, why? So I stay away from that. I'm right here focused on this and probably in the process of organizing some notes, at least on a mental, intellectual level for a book. So.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
I want to delve deep into some ancient Egyptian funerary magic and the symbology of all of the laying on the bandages, the prayers, the amulets, the whole ceremony of what that all means, and go deep into that, the negative confession, the purifications, all of it at some
Oh,
point.
I damn sure buy that.
Yeah, I got to work on it. It's there. It's got to come out of here into the system, and we'll get that going.
Love that. So your zodiac, or do you do astrology? If so,
Oh,
sun, moon,
yeah.
and rising?
I don't personally really do it. My mother was a great astrologer. I'm a Pisces sun. My rising is Taurus. I'm really bullheaded and earthy, more so than Piscean, but the personality out is the rising or ascendant, and mine's a Taurus. And then my moon is in Cancer, so I got that double water effect. And then I have a Capricorn at midheaven. My descendant is Scorpio, and then beneath my midheaven, I have 4 planetary bodies within 1 degree of each other.
Nice. You're like me. You just got all that water, like,
I know.
boom.
Yep, it's like a deluge sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And Pisces, wow. Very psychic then, and
Yes.
just soak it all up.
Hmm.
No wonder you absorb, like, the knowledge you, like, gain over time so well.
Oh, I'm like a sponge for that, and I started very young, so it's this is my passion. I was having experiences before I was introduced to the Egyptian Book of the Dead in 4th grade. I was having my own. I discussed that a little bit on Amber's channel.
Love that. Can you well, I know you mentioned your path and your journey, but you want to talk about how you like started on your path and like the differences from where you started to where you're at now?
I think for me, it all kind of came together like coagula solve in 4th grade when I studied the ancient Egyptians. As I said before that, I was having experiences seeing things in my room, running to the church, having that experience in front of the stained glass when I was 5. My mother and calling my grandmother and my uncle saying, "Leave this child alone." All of these things came to like almost a perfected state for a 10-year-old mind. When I saw the Egyptians, I understood things about myself that I didn't understand consciously, but they were very deep. And that's where that began. And it just evolved. I mean, I've studied most of the sacred text. I need to study a little bit more on the Zoroastrian text. I mean, Zohar is a great book too.
Mm.
Torah, Nag Hammadi, all of those books, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, all those books I've studied, but there are some that I have need to go back and look at again because there's pertinent information for right now, and I need to look at it.
Wow. Um, oh, hi, Witch of the Meadows. Welcome. So I saw on your about in your channel that you're a member of some pretty neat groups or orders. And can you talk a little bit about that and tell us about your tapestry too? That looks so cool.
Oh, you like that tapestry? I ordered that from Amazon, and it's called a Vlad Dracul banner or the Order Templi Draconis, and I have a thing for Draconis anyhow, and Mumu Tiamat. So I really like that big sulfuric cross above there. I
Oh
just
yeah.
Yeah, and I have two. This one's at my boyfriend's house where I'm at now, and then I have another one at my house that's going to be up there. So at either place, he got me all hooked up over here. So thank you, honey, for that. And I have the banner and everything set up in his office to do this. But it's a
Nice.
big 80 by 60 banner. It's huge.
Wow. And some of the orders, are you able to talk about that?
Yes, I
Okay.
belong to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I'm a member of the Rosicrucian Order, and I have been since 1997. An order lifelong of the OBOD, which is the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids in Sussex, England, and that's Philip Cargolm's order. And also, I am a member lifelong of the kind of somewhat debunked Rune Guild now, and who runs that. So
Mm.
I, go for the more accurate meanings rather than I go for the Proto Norse meanings like you rather than the Christianized
Yes.
versions, and that's what happened with the Rune Guild, and I walked away. So
Yeah, I can't blame you there. It's taking me a long time to really weed out like the Christian influences in that
right,
versus. So
that's definitely a thing. I mean, between the 9th and 11th century, the Norse were the last people in Europe to hold on to their religious beliefs and not convert. So in the 11th century, that was when that all happened, and they started infusing certain Christian dogma into like the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, and you see
mm,
that influence. But if
yeah,
you look further back, you don't see
yeah,
that happened in
definitely.
that time.
So I love that you're a fellow left-hand path practitioner as well. I know you mentioned, you like that gray, which I would like.
Yeah,
If we use labels, I would
right.
like use that as well. But
Yeah.
I love you had also did an interview on Lavender Moon's channel, and there was a point in that interview where you were talking about like criticism that we may get, or whatever for our practice. I know I've had stigmatized experiences and wish it wasn't the case, but have you ever experienced any type of stigma for what you practice?
Well, yes, I've experienced that quite often. I mean, if I wear a shirt outside that has just Baphomet, Eliphas Levi's rendition of it, of course, our favorite occultist, then I get accused of being a Satanist because people assume the goat, the horns, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they make their judgments based on their own filter. And we know that in the West, the filter's based on Christian concepts, and they all filter everything through that.
Yeah.
And so, there's that. That's a type of stigma. I have a sigil of Baal on my front door at my house, and, you know, I'm
Nice.
accused of being a Satanist because of the sigil of Baal. So there's always going to be stigma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just like to talk about that because I'm like, man, I just wish it wasn't the case, but I know probably ultimately we're gonna see that anyway.
Well, Hollywood has a lot to do with that in the media.
Mm.
Anytime black magic's mentioned or left hand path
It's
or
always
Ouija
negative.
boards, with all those Ouija board stories, everybody always says the dead giveaway is we were playing. We were playing with the Ouija board in the cemetery. We were playing, playing, playing. You don't play with that. It's not a toy. It's very serious.
Right.
Just like working with the seals from the Necronomicon. I know I had an experience of being
Mm.
attacked the first time I
Ooh,
used it went back in 1998. So if you don't close those gates, this is a real thing that there are attachments that can come back from the astral onto the
mm.
physical plane and they can do some damage.
Very true. Very true. Could you tell me about that Necronomicon experience? I'm curious.
Okay, this was in 1998, and of course, I think it was the first time I got it, and I got it out, and I don't even remember which one of the seals, and there's a process to go through, and I'm running around like a loose cannon doing all these different things and practicing shamanism, and it was too much. And I made this seal, and I did this invocation, and at the very time that I put the seal away, now it could have happened at any time, but it chose that very moment to happen. There was an earthquake about 12 miles away out in Mound House, Nevada. And my son was 12 at the time, and he was in the old Kmart with my mother. And the shelves were going like this in the store. And I put
Wow.
the Necronomicon away, and I burnt the sigil, and I left it alone. But that didn't mean that there wasn't an effect from that, because there was like an attachment on the back of my neck. And now I do have serious neck problems. I'm not saying it's directly related to that, but
Right.
succubus, they attach to the back of your neck. And I could feel this thing in my sleep, and I reached back and grabbed it and pulled that thing off. And that stuff in my apartment stopped.
Wow.
It was like literally draining my energy.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of things out there like that.
And when you walk the gates in the Necronomicon and you go into the astral realm or the chaos sphere, there's always
Mm,
that chance of attachments coming back
mm.
and doing damage. So I try to do a lot of spiritual cleansing too, and I use if I can find it, I use like what is that called? Florida water, agua de Florida. I like that a lot.
Nice. Yeah, Florida water is excellent.
That's excellent when you do astral work.
I
Or
have not been brave enough to try it with the Necronomicon yet, but I'd love to get my hands on it. Right now, I'm kind of dealing with the snake scales or the clip off,
oh,
and
you were
I'm
talking.
trying to
Are
walk
you gonna
those.
are you gonna work into the tunnels of Set?
Oh, I plan on it. Right
Did
now, I'm
you?
just
Yeah, Asenath
working up.
Mason has a book out about the 22 tunnels of Set. That's pretty deep and intense. I don't have that book myself, but I recently ordered from Michael W. Ford's Luciferian
Oh yeah,
Pocket. Yeah, I like
he's
Michael Ford a
excellent.
lot. He's great.
Excellent.
So I ordered from his shop Maskim Hul, which is a book about the Sumerian deities, and now we're going to get into the text that fuse together the basic template for the Necronomicon gate walking system. And Michael W. Ford. I mean, he has a YouTube channel. Yeah, Michael
Oh
W.
yeah.
Ford. Yeah, he's got so many books out, and he's got the books to Betty. I wouldn't mind checking that one. But for right now, I wanted to start with Masking Hole because that one I like that.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Michael Ford. Like
Yeah, me
above
too.
all, like I love Michael Ford.
Yeah, above all, yes, definitely, we're on the same page with that.
So solar work. I know you mentioned you do a lot of that and you called it kind of like an alchemical offering exchange, which I used to do similar things, just different spirit names, but we all know
Right.
they kind of all carry that solar energy. So,
Yes.
but can you talk about that and maybe a little bit about what funerary magic is for people who may not know?
So with the solar magic in ancient Egypt, the sun god was the supreme god in all of his forms. And when we make offerings to the sun, to Khepera at dawn, to Ra at midday, or to Timu at dusk or twilight, these are the different phases or faces of the sun. Khepera, the creator, the beetle, the one that I use, that icon, he's the creator, the self begotten. He created
Mhm.
himself upon his mother's thigh. So herein lies another mystery. But Khepera at dawn, the creator, at Ra at midday, the strength of the sun. The sun is the most intense at that time in Egypt. The midday sun was used for a different type of funeral or solar magic, and then here again at twilight for Timu. So all of these phases, just like the moon has its phases for magic and health, so too does the sun. So if you really wanted to cleanse yourself, you would do a solar ritual at dawn to Khepera, the creator, to cleanse that and to create a new being, a new ka around you, a new energy. How do you do that? Through prayer and purification and offerings to Khepera. At midday, if you needed strength, if you're ailing and you needed some type of, you know, extra infusion of that solar energy to increase your health and well-being, here again, Ra at midday would be the most powerful for an intense, just health and welfare, general well-being, ritualized ceremony. And Timu in the evening for more of a contemplative, going deeper into the subconscious mind as he goes between the gap in the Western Mountains. It symbolizes putting away the day's thoughts and the energy of that day and taking one's rest. So
That's
these are how you
beautiful.
use that.
That is beautiful. Wow. Thank you too for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So do you have any paranormal experiences that you'd like to talk about? Any at all, or all of them? I'm here
I,
for it.
I have a lot of them. One that I wanted to talk about is my dad, when he was alive, my parents had a lot of orbs in their house. And there was a lot of activity, like the drawers would open in the kitchen and close, and the refrigerator, you could hear the seal, and it was just like a parade of spirits and orbs in that house. And my cat would sit there and stare at the wall where I saw one and my mother saw one go in the wall. He sat there for like 20 minutes, didn't move. But one time over there, my dad brought his friend who was a chiropractor, and he was a dowser. This chiropractor
Mm,
liked to douse. I live in Nevada, so this guy was out dowsing for
nice.
all kinds of stuff. And he came over, and my dad said, "Well, she doesn't need rods. My daughter doesn't need all rods to tell you where the energy is in this house. She can show you with her hands." And he said, "What? You can do that?" And I said, "Yes." And I grabbed this bowl of popcorn from the night before and had my dad walk by me, and I did it with my hands, and my dad would mark the spot. And that man came behind, like 10 feet behind, and every piece of popcorn, those things would just spin like crazy. And
Wow,
he was totally blown away that I could do that, feel the energy just through my palms and do it that way. But
that's
my grandfather practiced water witchery too, and he was like 3/4 Cherokee.
ooh, nice.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a Mohawk on my bio father's side. Now, Nevada, like in the desert and stuff, have you ever done any like this is my own curiosity question. But I've always wanted to like just kind of go out in the desert and like try to like do a ritual with like a Zazel or any other like desert entities. Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have. There's a cemetery at going out of Carson City towards Mound House. There's a cemetery. You can't get to it now because they blocked it off. but many years ago, there's a gravel pit right by it, and it's an old timey cemetery way up on the top of this
Oh,
hill kind of set back with a squeaky gate and all that. And I went
I
up
love
there
it.
couple years in a row. I went up there on Samhain and took pumpkins up there and carved like rune stones into these pumpkins, rune symbols, and did like a power pumpkins up there and
Oh,
took
I
that
love
all out.
that.
That was so cool. It was just because I was way into doing runes, and I like using pumpkins and magic for Samhain because to me
Mm.
it's not just something you put a candle in, it's something you fill with your spell ingredients and your intentions. This night happens once a year, and that portal's open, the veil's pulled back, and I use that in many ways, not just to be a jack-o'-lantern, but many other ways too.
Oh yeah, I love that. I remember attempting to like pull a spirit through to communicate with me through a jack-o'-lantern one year. Yeah.
That's funny. I could see you doing that too.
So any ET experiences or UFO?
Yes, the one I spoke about on Halloween night. Here again with a triangle above me. I don't know if you saw that, but that was pretty intense. I've seen 3 UFOs, 2 in Nevada and 1 in Oregon, and I'm certain that all 3 of them were triangles because they're so supersonic fast. And when they leave a chemtrail that's like flamingo pink, that's definitely a triangle.
Oh, I'd be willing to bet on it.
Yeah,
So
you
what
know,
would you Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, Groom Lake, Nevada, hence Area 51, is about 8.5 hours away from me. And
Oh,
you think that's not really that far for them. It's a blink. They're around all the time. People see them. They've been on the Reno news a couple of times. People have put videos up of seeing UFOs on the Reno news, and they've talked about it on the radio talk shows here on the radio stations.
uh, that's quite close too. Like
Yes.
I like could you imagine just starting to go dig in your backyard? Think you'd run into like the base or city? I don't know. I'd be the weirdo in my backyard trying to
and,
uncover
and
the secrets.
And another cool thing is, I live about 16 miles from Virginia City, Nevada. And if you ever watch Ghost Adventures, they go up to the bucket of Blood Saloon and the Silver Queen. That's very close. I go up there all the time. I used to.
Oh, love that. That's cool. I love Ghost Adventures too.
Yeah. So
What
that's
would
pretty close.
what would you say your most powerful ritual you've ever performed was?
Hmm. Well, sex magic's pretty powerful, but I think as far as like a ritual by myself or with a group,
Either.
either. I did belong to a coven when I was younger. I did not really like that energy at all. I think for me, one time I did a ritual to invoke the spirit of Anubis into a big, huge icon that I bought.
Mm.
He was like setting, like a big statue. And that was pretty powerful. You could feel that all through where I lived and going outside if you're sensitive to it.
Wow,
So I
yeah.
work a lot with Anubis for the funerary magic because he's the supreme guide in that to me.
Hmm. My
He's the
son would love to talk to you, man. He loves
he likes
Anubis.
Anubis. Yeah,
Yeah,
Anubis is.
that's his man.
Mhm.
Wow. Um, so any astral experiences and do you dream or like dream experiences?
Yeah, I dream a lot, but I also receive a lot of precognitive I get visions before I sleep.
Mm.
And the way I know it's going to happen is I'll have a burst of colors, DMT in my pineal gland,
Mm.
and then it goes completely black. And then it's like somebody pulls back a curtain and I see whatever I'm supposed to see. That's
Yeah,
how it happens to me. And I've seen some pretty nasty, gnarly things that there was nothing I could do about. And I was very close friends with a journalist from a local paper, and she went and talked to somebody I didn't want her to, so we cut that off. We don't like to do that type of work.
right.
You know what I mean? My visions are intense, and they're. It used to be so bad when I was in my 30s that I'd literally fill up my stainless steel sink that I had, put every bit of ice in it, and fill it full of cold water and just submerge my head to try to make it stop. It was
Wow.
that intense for me from 28 to 31, right during the Saturn retrograde, Saturn return part. That's what happened to me. My pineal gland blew wide open
Wow. I
right during
do
my Right during the Saturn return, it happens.
Wow. That's interesting because I'm the same way though with my abilities, like with the dead. It's so intense for me. I don't like to read or and
Hmm.
then things could come out of my mouth that they don't want to hear and I'm just rather
Things come out of your eyes that you don't want pictures taken up. You know,
hmm.
yeah, we don't really. Hi, Lunar. I like that picture.
I do too.
That's awesome.
Um oh, and I asked for about astral, right? Did I?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. What is the first, let's say, considered dark energy or spirit you've ever worked with?
For me, if you're gonna say dark and a darker than Anubis as far as funerary magic, I like working with Pazuzu a lot.
Oh, yes.
I work with Pazuzu. I have a plate that I drew a seal of Pazuzu, and I have it outside my door. Why? Because Pazuzu, the Necronomicon calls him the dark grinning angel of plague and fever. With the plague and fever and the things that are in the air that are airborne, Sumerian magic says, for what comes on the wind or is airborne can be only be destroyed by he who knows the wind. So that's a perfect way to use that seal in a positive way to do exactly the opposite.
It absolutely is.
When I wear that big Pazuzu charm, sometimes I left it at my house, but
I love Pazuzu. I just,
I do too.
when I'm working with Lilith or Lamash to Lilith,
Yeah,
I
Lilith
tend
too.
to, yeah, I don't, I got to keep them separate though.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. It's the same with me. Whenever I work with Divine Mother Kali, especially when I'm chanting, I am so inward, one-pointed, focused. It's like Divine Mother Kali, Smashana form, the Smashana, the Kali of the cremation grounds. That's a whole nother thing for me. That's once taken by that energy, you're hers forever, no matter what. And that's the truth of it.
I love Kali. I have not really dived much into like that pantheon, but I'm aware of it, and Kali's awesome. I really
Yes,
like the story of Shiva and Shakti as well.
yes. Here again, we're talking about the creation of the universe. Shiva and Shakti and her, Shakti's divine energy. It's Vibhuti. It's that force, that creative force in action. So Kali, with her color, Kala is black, and that is Divine Mother Kali's dark matter, just like Mumu Tiamat, the chaos script dragon. It's the same energy.
Beautiful. Um, what are your feelings on religions after your experience with, I believe it was Father O'Connor? And can you refresh the story about what happened with your experience with this Father O'Connor for the audience?
Certainly. When I was 5 years old, living in Placerville, California, where I was born, we lived on this hill called Sacramento Street. There was a church at the bottom, and then our house, and above our house was my aunt and uncle's, and above that was a Catholic church called Our Lady of Sorrows. And there was a big statue of Mother Mary out there with a rosary, and it was carved in white. It was very beautiful. And I had a lot of experiences in childhood that I didn't understand, and I was afraid of my house because all of the experiences happened in my house. So I'd run up to my aunts and uncles, and if they were busy, I would go hide in the church. And I became enthralled with being in the church. They couldn't keep me out of there. And that's when I had the transfiguration moment in front of the stained glass. And apparently he saw, and he went down and told my parents, Father O'Connor, and he said, there's something with this child. And they just, he would come down all the time after that in the morning for coffee with my mother, and they would talk, and I would be dismissed out of the room. So
Wow,
it's just things like that. A lot of that kind of thing happened when I was very, very small. And to this
that'd be
day,
difficult.
yeah, to this day, like I'm saying, I just absolutely love cobalt glass because of that experience in the church.
Wow. I feel like a lot of us kind of have an experience like with the church and it just kind of goes from there, you know? It's
Well,
probably
I don't necessarily have anything against organized religions, but what I do have a problem with is when these religions take control of knowledge that's for
Mhm.
everybody and hide it away and lock it up. What are you afraid of?
I agree.
That's knowledge. People tend to think knowledge is power. I disagree with that. I think knowledge is knowledge, but when you
Hmm.
combine it with wisdom, therein lies the power. And if it's hidden down in some vault, and it's, we need these things right now. That's why they're encrypted and they're where they're at for this time. And you know that our audience knows that we're all feeling it. We see what's happening.
Right. Wow. So well said, man. Right on. You guys enjoying her? Do you have any questions for us? Feel free to ask anything.
They can't see the chat, so it's all you.
I got you, girl. Don't worry.
Thank you.
So is there a certain occultist you admire or
Oh yeah,
their
there's a
work?
couple of them. There's a couple of them, and no, it's not Aleister Crowley, folks. Sorry, he kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I have to admit, but that's personal things that does. That he's a brilliant occultist, great magician. It's just some of the way his method of getting it. It's not my
I
method,
agree.
but
Yeah.
like good, like Anton LaVey. I have a lot of respect for Anton LaVey. I like he's very open about his connection with how he feels about the animals and the earth, and I'm very in tune with that energy myself. So that's why I respect him. But my favorite all-time occultist is Eliphas Levi. Definitely, he's the one for me. That guy is the first one who talked about the astral light. And what is that? It's in a French title, something de magic, height de magic, something. That book. The translation's escaping me, but that's a very intense book on astral projection, astral light, and how to alchemize. So,
Wow. I think you actually told me about uh, that occultist, and I started looking into them for the docu-series. Yeah.
who Eliphas
And
Levi? He's
yeah,
really awesome. He's got some good stuff.
interesting dude. Yeah.
Very.
So, is there anything about certain entities you don't hear others talk about that you've discovered while working with them on your path?
Mm. Um, let's see. I really like working with Jen, and I know a lot of people back away from that. And I have my own kind of. It's not my own, but I kind of agree with one paranormal researcher, Rosemary Ellen Guiley. She's now passed, but she wrote over 60 books on the things that we discuss, and she talks about the jinn being dark matter beings. They're not of this earth. They're not made from the elements of the earth. They are made from smokeless black flame. If they're not elementals, then they have to be astral entities. Hence, to me, they're black energy beings. They're dark matter.
Absolutely. Working with Azazel, I've come to that same
Yeah,
type of conclusion.
these courses are intense. Do you ever feel like there's like some vast face looking at you? I see that
Oh
eye
yeah.
all the time. I see that eye and Mulutima looking at me.
Mm.
That dark matter. I see it all the time. I close my eyes and there's an eye looking back at me.
And you can feel it.
Uh huh.
Like you can feel that.
That's why I chose the banner. One of the reasons.
That's awesome. What about favorite books and TV shows or movies?
Favorite books. My aside from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, I have to say my absolute favorite book would be The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley.
Hmm,
And movies, I'm a Braveheart girl.
that was good.
Braveheart's my ultimate favorite movie ever. Um, did you say TV series?
Mm-hmm.
Original Star Trek,
Hmm,
Mr. Spock.
nice. And can we talk about your guru a bit and how that's impacted your life?
Oh yes, my guru. Yeah, I prepared for a long time for that, and then when I went to Laguna Beach and he came over, he was already there with his assistant, and they came from Dakshineshwar Kali Temple in Dakshineshwar, which is just like the line between Calcutta and Dakshineshwar is like a step over.
Mm.
And so they came over, and I was told that he was only going to choose one man and one woman to initiate because it was huge in Laguna Beach. There was a lot of people from all over this country and from other parts that came to attend annual Kali Puja. And I was the one chosen and I was ready for it. And I have pictures on my phone and I have pictures, actual photographs, and you can literally see the light on my face and all over my body from that. It was very, very intense. It was very beautiful. It's one of those things that's kind of beyond articulation, really.
Right. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I love stories like that.
You're welcome.
I bet that felt great too.
Oh,
Like
it
right
did.
place at the right time and just aligned. That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, definitely.
If you could scream anything you wanted to the world, what would it be?
Wake up. I'd scream, wake up.
Well said. And have you traveled to any other countries or
No, not
other
yet.
states?
I've gone to other states. I lived for a while in Maine
Mm,
and I lived for a while in Oregon, but mostly in Nevada and California.
nice. I want to see California one day.
You got to
One
go
day.
see the redwood trees. It's so beautiful.
Oh, and Nevada. Like I'm terrified of the desert as well, but I want to see it too. It's
Nevada has its own energy that's kind of different. I mean, we get hot, intense heat here all the time, but the last few days, the heat we've had it 100 and plus, and it's just really, really an unusual heat this year, more so than I've ever felt here. The animals don't even want to go out in it. You go outside and it literally sucks your brain, sucks your energy right out. And
reminds
I'm
me of
used to living
Florida.
here in this heat. This is not new heat, but it's different heat.
Right. Uh yeah. And something you hope to achieve in your practice before you depart from this life.
Oh, definitely create my own magical system, a template for that. I'm working, talking to another YouTube person who's an Necronomicon Gatewalker over at the
Ooh.
Black Tower. As a shout out to my friend Aramanasul. Him and I he's going to be starting a class in August that I'm going to be working with him in that class. Not, I'm going
Ooh.
to be taking his class to support him, is what I'm saying. And him and I have been discussing formatting maybe at some time, a different system using the Necronomicon as a template. I would like to infuse other systems onto it and see how it works.
I'm gonna have to get up with you for that. That's something I'd be interested in attending.
Definitely. That's what I
um,
like about chaos magic is you can do that.
right. Yes.
You have the freedom of, from that. And I'm reading Lieber Nolan's Psychonaut right now, and that's an awesome book.
Oh, that's
By
on my
Peter S.
list.
Carroll. Yeah, that's a great book.
And sorry, don't know what's wrong with my throat. Do you remember any of your past lives, or have you ever had any regression done?
Yes, yes, and yes, yes. I remember them, certain of them, quite vividly. I get flashes of them all the time before bed.
Me too.
Um, and as far as uh, hypno regression therapy, yes, I have done that a time or two, and I
Awesome.
do like that. I think that whether you go completely under or not, if your mind doesn't release that control, you still can get some valuable information because I think, at least in my case, that was dropped enough that it came through. Some people want to hold on to that control and they won't
Yeah.
drop it, but for me, I did, and some came through.
Wow. That's
So,
awesome.
and yeah, it's all of my memories from ancient Egypt are very much Middle Kingdom, 18th dynasty. Um, I'm very connected with Queen Hatshepsut, who, by the way, had her lover buried beneath her tomb, and he was not of the royal blood, and Hatshepsut didn't care because that was her soulmate.
I love that.
So do I.
Never
I
even
love
heard of
her.
her, but that is
Queen
freaking
Hatshepsut
awesome.
she's my favorite pharaoh slash queen. She was ruler in the 18th dynasty. She went into war and led a military campaign twice. And
Ooh.
the Egyptians and the royal family believe, and this is past life speaking, it's not in the textbook. They believed that she wanted that power to run the country, and that was her only goal. That was not even close to her goal. That was just a step to get into the temple of Moon Ra, into the deeper mysteries that she had to do that. She could really, she wanted to run the country, but she was very connected to Amun Ra, and her title from him was Daughter of the Morning Sun.
Ooh, I love that.
Isn't that awesome?
Hell yeah, it is. So frequently, I feel like they get a lot of historical things a little jumbled. And then when people regress or remember, it turns out it wasn't the case and it's easily explainable more so. It makes more sense from people who remember it.
And
I was,
I think it's really interesting. They tried to chisel out her cartouches and destroy her obelisks, and they threw over 1,000 of bust statues of her into a pit and covered them up. They tried to chisel her out of history and take away her eternity by removing her name. And you know what it did? It had the opposite effect. It made that woman so famous that in the museum over where in the UK, I believe it is, they have the Hall of Hatshepsut. It's nothing but the Queen. All of it restored. It is her own private place.
I feel like they try in history to like
Mhm.
snuff down powerful women like that.
Well, and they did it for the wrong reason. They thought that it was just about the military and running the country and having all
Right.
the posh, blingy stuff that but no, it was a spiritual goal. It was way higher than that. That was just a step for her to get where she really wanted to be.
That is amazing. And do you have any experiences where you've seen any egregore or mythological creatures or cryptids like yourself?
Cryptids, no, not really cryptids. I have seen jinn. I have summoned jinn. Um, as far as other things like that, the angels I've seen two angels, both in Catholic churches, interestingly enough, which that doesn't really surprise me. I've been in churches other than Catholic churches, and I have not seen or felt anything in there. But there is something with some of the older cathedrals and churches where there have been a lot of people
Yeah,
praying. This is what creates the egregore, is all of the intention from a group of people, whereas the servitor is the magician creating it with his or her own thought.
right.
Egregores are like a universal energy we all collectively put in. Santa Claus, that's an egregoric
Mm-hmm.
energy, right?
Right.
Satan, any of the
Yeah,
angels, that's an egregoric energy. And yes, I've seen many of them.
I love that. Not many people talk about it or use that term, but it's like I haven't talked about that yet on my channel, but I
Mhm.
want to. That's an interesting topic.
Yes, they're very interesting. I
But
really like the gin. That's
oh
something
yes.
I like the gin. I try to hold back from going and buying myself a brass lamp every time I go on Amazon.
I know someone else that uses our brass lamp.
Right. Right. That's what I'm talking
They're
about.
awesome.
I
They're
look at them all the time. I'm like, oh, look at you.
awesome. All right. Anything else that you would like to share? I can't believe that went by so quick. I'm having fun. And I
Me too.
definitely love to have you back too. And maybe even we could collab on certain topics
Yeah,
in the
you and I
future.
have that thing we've been discussing for the
Oh yeah.
autumn. I think that that would be a perfect time. That would give me more time in front of the camera, and I'm still, getting familiar and learning,
Yeah.
and give us time to figure that out.
Yeah,
I think
keep an
that would
eye
be
on
good.
it.
And I think that the way that we discussed it, that would be good, and we can involve a lot more people in that,
Yeah, that'd be great.
right?
So does anybody have any questions for Lady K? And thank you. I really enjoyed this. It's
Oh,
great.
thank you.
No, nope, just fascinating. They want to,
Fascinating.
they're like, I just want to listen.
Hi,
Same,
Candy. Hi, Candy.
same. Whisper says she wanted to research
Who?
at least.
Hatshepsut? Queen Hatshepsut? Yes. Yes. That woman's amazing.
Rochelle asks, what is your life path number?
My favorite number 9.
I'm an 11. I
You
don't
are you?
remember what that means.
My first name is an 11.
Nice. Oh, that was amazing. My brain's spinning.
Your brain's spinning. We're not even started yet. We're still on slow mode.
Oh, yeah.
Where's
Oh,
your banner? Where's your banner? Don't you have that one with the ETs on it?
oh yeah, that was my green screen. At that time, I just took the green screen down. Just my altar back there right now, and
Oh,
my
that's your altar. Oh, nice Baphomet statue. I love
wrong
it.
one. I got a bit of my altar there.
Ooh, good.
It's
That's
like
nice.
really long, goes all the way to the other side there. But my
A
green
girl can
screen,
never have too many altars.
very true. My poor fiance, man, he gets upset because I'll just have my stuff all over the bed, the room. I'll be a mess, drawing up sigils, writing info, and he's going, "What? What do I do with this?"
Sigils everywhere, tarot cards, candles,
Yeah.
incense. Yeah, book notes. Yeah,
And
that's what
ritual nights. He's just, all right. I'm out. I'm going in
yeah.
here.
Ritual night. See ya. I'm going to go play pool somewhere or something.
Oh, um, she said she should have known that about your life path. And what about aliens? Have you had any contact experiences? She did talk about that briefly, but
Yeah, and I get now it's like I get dreams of that. The other day on Amber's channel, I was mentioning, she said something about it, and I said I had a dream that early that morning, and I could see all the green, in that room with all the green machines. And she's like, "What color green?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm colorblind. Green." And somebody said slime green, and I said, "That's it. That's the color."
yeah, pay attention to those, man. A lot of my extraterrestrial contact has been astrally. They've taken me astrally.
I know that's what
Um,
you're talking about. Those attachments, you have to be careful with that. They cause
I
problems.
Yeah, I carry my servitor with me on the astral.
Good,
And
yeah. I use a watcher, so try to.
nice. Nice. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and I really enjoyed this with you, and I look forward to seeing you with me again. And oh, she said, "Do you keep a dream journal?"
Do I?
Yes.
I'm really bad at journaling. I have a manifestation journal. I have a hermetic tarot journal. I have all kinds of things, handwritten grimoires, and I'm just not keeping up with it right now.
Yeah.
But I do have those tools, yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys, and we will say goodbye until next time. I just want to stay. I always love these interviews, man. I just could go on forever, but
Me too.
I love you guys, and we'll see you next time.